Hello there, folks. Hey, this is another video on that indirect addressing concept that I'm working on. And in this case, I'm using a database that is from our HMI classes. So this should look familiar to a lot of people. My usual class, we build a tank fill drain application, and we go from designing a regular tank, and we go as far as to build a widget out of it and a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, in this database that we use in that class, I have not only the tank that the students interact with, but I have also other tanks that actually allow us to monitor all of the other students' tanks. So as you can see here in this browser, let's see, right here, all tanks, it's showing live data from all of the tanks here from the PLC. So if I was to go to the actual PLC, which is this one, and if I turn on all the tanks, click the fill button here, you can see all the pumps turn green here, and they're all filling up the tank at the same time. And then, of course, once the tank fills, we'll get, this is the PLC side, this is the HMI that the students do. You can see it's overflowing. You can see something interesting on this one. And that tank number 1 is not overflowing because the valve opened on that one. We did something really interesting in the class the other day with that one. We actually set a threshold so that when the level hit 80% of the max, the valve opened. So that's what you saw there. That valve opened automatically, where the rest of them stayed closed. Anyway, I'm not going down that for this class. We're going to make this, we're going to do this widget, or not widget, we're going to do this indirect addressing idea. So here again, here are all the same folders from different tanks. These could be PLCs, they could be well sites, they could be all kinds of things, but they're all the same looking at a different PLC. So I want to make one of these. Well, before I get there, hold on. Let me take a look here. I want to ask you guys a question. As you look at these tags for each tank, notice the only thing that's different here is the tank number. You can see tank 1 or tank 2. That's the only thing that's different. Let me show you another thing here. If I go over to programs on the left, and say I just insert a program, just so I can use this as like a little window here. If I go over to the right side, and team, let's say that we're looking at the temp F value. So if I grab from the right side, all tanks, tank 1, temp F, I drag this guy out here. I want you to notice the format. Let me do enter to do a line feed. Let me grab the same tag from tank 2, put it out here. And just for our little example, let's grab the same tag from tank 3 here, okay? Now I got all 3 of these on here, and the reason I'm doing this is I want you to, let's see here, take a look here and notice something. The only difference between all 3 of these, the only difference is the index number of the tank folder. I just want you to notice that's the only difference between these 3 items, okay? So that's where that comes from. And if we go over here to data tags, on the left, I'm going to collapse these guys. And I'm going to go ahead and, in the main part of this all tanks, I'm going to go ahead and write or create a new integer tag. And I'm going to call this one my pointer. Just going to call it a pointer, okay? It's an X because it's an integer value. And we're going to use this tag to point to the appropriate tank folder here, okay? Now, I'm going to go expand. Well, let me go ahead and, all of these are hard-coded. I'm going to take one of these folders, and I'm going to copy it. So right-click on one of these, copy, and then right-click and do a paste. Here's my pasted version. However, on the pasted one, I'm going to rename this folder dynamic tags, DYN underscore dynamic tags, like that. Okay, just going to rename it. I want you to notice that in here, all of these tags are ironically looking at the previous one. I just did a copy and paste, so they're looking at tank 8. But we're going to change that, and we're going to take advantage of the indexing idea I'm trying to work with here. So if I click on, for instance, the name tag here, you can see here it's got a constant right here, name here. I'll leave that one. Let's go to this guy here. Let's go to this X, okay? So this X, when I'm talking about the function, is over here in the lower right-hand corner. Go to System. If you expand the functions tree and then expand the tag data tree in here, you're going to get this section right here. And we're going to use, for this, we're going to use the FindTagIndex, and depending on what tag, we're going to use the GetRealTag, and we're also going to use the GetIntTag. Let me show you how to work this here. So let me go back to Crimson. And on this temp F, I'm going to hit the pull down here, and I'm going to go down to complex for this one. I'm going to do complex. Now notice, since it's mapped to the tag as is here, you get this return and that pointer looking at tank 8 and that particular holding register for that. I'm going to text this out or comment that out by doing 2 forward slashes. And then I'll go to the end of this, and I'm going to go use some of these functions. So since temp F is a X tag, if I just move over, it's an X, means that it's an integer. I'm going to go over here to the right side, and I'm going to grab the GetInt function here. Actually, I need to, before this, let me type the word return, because that's what it's going to return. So there's the GetInt function, and then inside of the parentheses, I need to use the FindTagIndex. So I'm going to grab this function, FindTagIndex, and I'm going to drop that inside the parentheses right there. Now notice my cursor is blinking. So now I have to tell it, okay, what is that index that we're talking about here? So I'm going to go over to the right side and go to data tags on the right side. And I don't know, I'm going to try something here, team. I'm going to grab this temp F. Let me go up here to tank 1, for instance. I'm going to grab this here. Let me see what happens. I'm going to drag this and put it in here. I want to see what it'll do. Okay, so it gives me a little bit of form here. All right, it's not correct, but it gives me an idea. So I know, let me go to the beginning of this. I know that the main folder is called all tanks. So I'm going to do a double quotation marks. Okay, that looks good. And then the subfolder of that is tank_1. Now, here's where things get different. Instead of this 1 here, I want that to be the pointer tag. So I'm going to delete the number 1 that's there after the underscore, and I'm going to do end quotation marks, and then I'm going to do a space, the plus symbol, space again, and I want to use this pointer tag here as a text number. So watch what I do. I'm going to grab the pointer from down here, and I'm going to drag it up here like that. However, at the end of this, I'm going to type .as text, because I want to convert that, oops, I didn't spell it right, to a text value. So there's the tag pointer.as text, okay? And then I'm going to do a plus again. Okay, so that should be that format there. I'm sitting here. That should be tanks 1. Okay, so then I can do quotation marks here and go to the end and end quotations. And then at the end of this, put a semicolon. So there's my function. It's a GetIntegerTag because the temp F is an X integer. And then inside there, I'm going to do the FindTagIndex, which is going to do this. And I think that's going to work. I'm going to click the OK button here. It accepted it. Now notice something weird happened. When I did this, this guy became yellow. It was green, but now it's yellow. So it's kind of written to this formula right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the rest of these guys. So I'm going to click on level milliamp. Notice something on level milliamp. It has a pi symbol. Let me save this program real quick here. Let me go ahead and highlight all these. I'm going to just try something. Highlight all these here. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to do copy from, and I'm just going to try to copy mapping. I know that I have some problems, but I'm going to fix it. So I'm going to click here. Let's see if it worked. Okay. We got some errors. We'll fix that. Don't worry about that. Don't freak out. Okay. So let's go to the level milliamp here. Now, I did say earlier that it was a pi symbol, and it is. So we have a problem here. If I go to the data tab for this guy, hit the edit button, the problem we have is we are trying to get an integer value when that's supposed to be floating point. So in the lower right hand corner of the system, there's the function called getRealTag. Okay, so I'm just going to change the word it here to real. Okay, and hold on, I also need to be looking for not the temp F tag, but according to this, the level underscore milliamp tag. So I'm going to change this little part of my string, the dot here, level underscore MA for milliamp. Okay. Now let me click the OK button here. And see, I still got, oh, all the errors there are gone. That's perfect. That fixed the was here. Looks great. Okay. Let's go down to level max here. Also, notice when I did that, team, I just want to show you real quick here. When I did that you see here, is that going to work? Oh, maybe not. Well, you'll see that there is that pi symbol that I was looking for. That means it's a floating point. So that's perfect. That's what I was looking for. Anyway, let me go here and get going on. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to click on level max, click the data tab for this guy. And all we have to fix on this one is the suffix. This needs to be looking at level max. So I'm going to change this to level max. Okay. Go ahead and click the OK button. And the next one should be looking at level raw. So let me click on it. Change this last part of the pointer or the equation or string here to say level raw. There we go. Oops, I hit enter. Sorry. All right, click the OK button. All right. Now these next four are all flag tags looking at a specific bit. See this here looking at a bit? Let me fix the complex code first, and then I'll address this treat as part. So let me go here, and this one is supposed to go to the pump. I'll change that to pump. Enter. The next one is supposed to go to the valve, so I'm going to change this to valve. And the next one is overflow. I'm going to change it. Okay. And the last one is drain flow. All right, there we go, DRAIN. You must make sure this is spelled correct, otherwise it won't look right. All right, okay, so those are those flag tags. However, I found in testing that even though you're doing this, it didn't quite work right. So what I do here is I change all of these to unsigned integer because the actual pointing occurs with your complex code going to the appropriate tag name. So I don't need to worry about this part of this. I'll make these all unsigned. Okay. All right. I think I got that done. Let me ponder my thoughts. I think we're good. Okay. I think we're good. So let's test this out. Well, yeah, I'm gonna test it out and I'll show you. There's one more problem that's gonna happen. But let me go over here and I'm gonna go ahead and create a new page. I'm gonna move this page to the top just for our quick little demo, because I do want you to see the extra step you need to do. Okay, so I'm going to go to data tags on the right. I'm going to grab my dynamic folder out here like this. Make it a little bigger like that. And I'm going to grab my pointer out here and put this on here. And I want to make the pointer be a data entry field. So I'll double click here. And I'm going to change the axis from display only to data entry. Notice the colors gets inverted. And I always like to give a border on all my data entry fields. So I'll do a border, red, like that. All right. I think I got this right. Yeah, I'm going to test it. Let me save this. It's the default page on this, so let's go ahead and download it. Oops, I got untranslated. You know what? I was using this program here as just a way to show this text. I'm not using that, so I'm going to delete that and go ahead and download it now. Should be the HMI on the right side here, or this one here should show up. I don't need to see this one. This one should. Okay. All right. So here I am, team. Look here. I'm in here to the values, and I want you to notice something. If I change this to 1, 2, or 3, okay. So there I got some values there. Particularly, I can see the tank 1. Well, hey, this makes sense. If I put this at 0, I don't have. Listen, I don't have a folder called tank_0. So it's not finding anything. It's just wonderful proof of my fact here. Whoops, not that guy. But if I change this to, say, 3, it pulls up some values. If I change it to 4, yep. Now here's a question. If I go turn on all the pumps, let's see what happens here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on all the pumps via the main PLC control here. All of the pumps are on. I want you guys to notice something very interesting. These aren't changing. That's weird. Put that in your back pocket. I clearly am overflowing all the tanks. That's not changing at all. What if I turn off all the pumps? Okay. What if I drain? Let me see here. So I'm draining. I see the level milliamp is going down, but these two numbers aren't changing. Isn't that weird? What if I look at another pump or another tank? No. Isn't that interesting? See that? So I just want you to kind of remember that, because in order for me to get all these tags to update, unless I'm using them somewhere else, what I'm going to do in Crimson to make Crimson the driver scan those functions or those GetIntTag values now all the time. In this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the right side and I'm going to go to data logger on the right side. I already got a data logger running, and by the way, it's ironically it's monitoring the tags from the class, but I'm going to insert a new data logger, and I'm going to call this one, I'm going to rename this guy dynamic dyn_tags, the same as my folder name over here. But on this one, I'm going to set this guy up as a triggered snapshot, and I'm not going to do anything down here because I don't ever want it to actually really log the values. I don't really care. I don't want it to do that. I just want this function to add those tags to the scan list. So I'm going to go to the Contents tab, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the whole directory of all the tanks and drag over and put in all those in here that are currently in this dynamic indirect addressing concept I'm doing. Okay, so let me go ahead and save this. And before I download, I want to just reiterate what I'm trying to see, or what I want to prove is, can I make these things update all the time? Right now, you can see that I think only tank 1 will. Maybe not even tank 1. No, actually, none of these will because they're not being logged. But I want to see if this stuff shows up. So let me go ahead and download this. All right, we'll go ahead and look back at our HMI here. This will come up to 0 because I didn't put that retentive in, so that makes sense. Now, if I change this to number 1, okay, I got level max. Ooh, I got some numbers here. What about tank number 3, for instance? Looks good. Oh, look at tank 3. It says empty down here. Did any of those ones say? I don't know if they did. That one says empty. Okay, hold on. Let me look at something. If I go to the PLC, they are all empty except for this one. I bet doesn't show it because these guys all have the valves open, but this one doesn't. So if I put this on tank 1, that is absolutely correct. And again, I'm just going to default to, if you come to one of my virtual classes or real classes in person, you'll know what's going on there because of that sensor design. You'll know that the valve has to be opened for the sensor right here to indicate water flowing by. Anyway, let me click the all off here, which should close all the valves. Sure does. Let's put this guy at tank 7 this time, for instance. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the fill button, which turns on all the pumps. The pump's on. Look at the level milliamp changes. Level raw is an integer. Oh, this is wonderful. Works great. This is the example of all the tags that are being written, or we're reading the tags. I'm not writing anything on this one. This is just read only. Anyway, that was a quicker example of the indirect mapping on a tags. So if you got any questions, please let me know. But I think that's a sweet idea. I'm going to make another video that will let us turn on things. Right now, this is all of these tags, and this one turned to a yellow, which is our formula tag, and we're not writing to anything in this one. I'll make another one that'll cover that. Hey, thanks a lot. Have a great day, folks.